President Xi Jinping announces 10 new partnership action plans to facilitate shared goals between China and Africa.
The Chinese government will provide 360 billion yuan of financial support through the next 3 years.
PMS situation. Vice President Shettima meets key players following directive from President Tinubu.
Is concerned about the hardship of Nigerians, and that was why he directed the Vice President to call this meeting.
Federal Road Safety Corps launches mobile app to interface with the Nigerian public.
It's a software application that can be used on both to alert us on sensitive road safety issues.
And good morning, Nigeria. Today, we will focus on fostering leadership culture.
Okay, leadership is the capacity to translate a vision into reality. And I'm quoting American scholar Warren Bennis.
True that. Let's bring it closer home. The trouble with Nigeria is simply and squarely a failure of leadership. That's according to our own Chinua Achebe.
Yenre, that may explain the motivation for the Legislative Mentorship Initiative, LMI, a pet project, that is, of Femi Gbajabiamila, Speaker of the 9th House of Representatives and Chief of Staff to the President. The Youth Leadership and Mentorship Initiative aims to groom and nurture the next generation of public sector leaders, especially legislators.
Now, the initiative seeks to provide young Nigerians with the necessary skills, knowledge, and experience to excel in governance and public service.
And key aspects of the initiative are 3 weeks of residential training, 1 month internship, 1 month virtual training, and community interactions.
Well, that's not all. Fellows will be trained in practical leadership models and navigate the public sector all through the period they will be mentored.
Well, fellows will also have access to seasoned speakers, facilitators, and mentors. Fellows will have the opportunity of internships with MPs. Indeed, eligibility criteria for the initiative include that participants must be citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria with strong and demonstrable leadership skills, as well as oral and written English language fluency. Now, they must also be between ages 21 and 35 with minimum educational qualification of degree or higher national diploma.
Now, some of the benefits of the Leadership Mentorship Initiative are to get in-depth understanding of practical leadership models and navigate the public sector for impact. Our fellows will have access to seasoned speakers, facilitators, and mentors, and of course, we have an opportunity for internships with MPs, job placements, and exchange programs.
Well, Gbajabiamila launched the initiative on October 3rd, 2022 to empower and prepare young leaders who are interested in public service. The initiative is to provide them with the practical experience they need to participate in governance, politics, and decision-making processes.
As Nigeria navigates its path to greatness, one thing is clear. Effective leadership is key to unlocking the country's vast potential. But what does it take to build a culture of leadership that can drive progress and prosperity?
Today on Good Morning Nigeria, we examine the challenges and opportunities for fostering a leadership culture that prioritizes accountability, transparency, and service. So join us as we discuss the role of mentorship, education, and community engagement in shaping the next generation of Nigerian leaders. Welcome to the program. I am Victor Azu.
It hasn't changed, right? And I'm Henry John. Let me also welcome you to the program. We're reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. Chukwudi Okoli-Ugbaja will join us much later for the newspaper review. But that's after the morning news with Musa Abubakar. Musa, good morning to you.
Good morning, Henry. Good morning, Victor. Here's the news. President Xi Jinping has announced 10 new partnership action plans at the 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation (FOCAC), aiming to enhance collaboration and shared growth between China and Africa. The new action plans will shape the future of China-Africa relations with potential impacts on economic development, cultural exchange, and global dynamics.
The Chinese government will provide 360 billion yuan, or about 50 billion US dollars, of financial support through the next 3 years.
Concerned by the current situation of petrol in the country, Vice President Kashim Shettima has met with the National Security Advisor, Malan Nuhu Ribadu, Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Henneken Lekpebiri, and other stakeholders following directive from President Bola Tinubu. The Minister of State Petroleum Resources expressed President Tinubu's empathy on the hardship Nigerians are facing and assured the availability of the product. And with the support of local refineries, production will increase and price will stabilize.
It is empathetic about what is going on in the country. Is concerned about the hardship of Nigerians, and that was why he directed the Vice President to call this meeting, for us to reflect on what is going on in the country. What is important is that products are available in the country. And we believe that between now and the weekend, there will be availability of products across the length and breadth of the country.
Meanwhile, the Niger Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says the commencement of petrol production by Dangote Refinery will have an enormous impact on unlocking supply in the country. Authority Chief Executive Farouk Ahmed said this at the presentation of a license for refinery expansion to an indigenous refinery in Abuja.
It's completed by October, they say next year, 2025. The refinery will be producing about 10,000 barrels per day. Coupled with the NNPC refineries and Dangote refineries coming on stream, I think like we all project net we might be eventually net exporters of gasoline rather than net importers.
Vice President Kashim Shettima has inaugurated the management team of the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, with expectation that the new members will deploy their expertise and experience to drive its mandate effectively. The management team was appointed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on August 19, 2024, as part of the renewed hope agenda in developing and improve efficient power supply in the country. Managing Director of the company, Jennifer Degije, restated her commitment to delivering the mandate of the company.
Cutting-edge strategy to propel the NDPAC to greater heights by ensuring that we come up with new solutions that would explore very fruitful market opportunities for us.
The Federal Road Safety Corps has launched a mobile application and National Crash Reporting Information System, NACRIS, to create an interface between the Corps and the general public. The mobile app, launched by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, has a series of features which include identification and notification of black spots in parts of the country.
It's a software application that can be used on both to alert us on sensitive road safety issues.
The launch of these two digital platforms is a testimony to the fact that the Corps Marshal is committed to fulfilling his promises.
And those are the highlights of the news at this time. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Henry and Victor after the commercial break. Please don't go away.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, with undying demand. We make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we have more than just a nation.
We are Nigeria, strengthening unity, we know they carry life. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
You have to meet my best friend. She's the sweetest. Hey, check out my hair.
Which one? The one on your head or the one in the sink? Relax. Next time, just use the Mega Growth Anti-Damage Relaxer. It's infused with wonder oils and conditioning proteins so you can retouch without breakage. Now your hair looks great.
Thank you.
Retouch without breakage with Mega Growth Anti-Damage No-Lie Cream Relaxer.
The new Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. No need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish and energize your kids.
We're live in the open market for Epic 10X Challenge. My people, today now. Today, I will show you how the power of new Epic 10X gives your toilet a better cleaning than bleach.
Than bleach?
Yes, so.
Impossible.
Toilets have stains which bleach cannot clean effectively. But Epic is thicker and sticks better, which gives 10X better cleaning versus bleach and kills germs.
Oh, wow.
You can now see that Epic is better than bleach.
Darling Natural Twists blend with her hair over time.
Yeah, that's perfect.
She's really more beautiful every week. Darling Natural Twists get better every day, just like you.
Relief is coming. More wages, reduced costs. Nigeria's national minimum wage is now 70,000 naira, and it will be reviewed every 3 years. The federal government will commence immediate implementation, and state governments are being encouraged to follow suit. With the presidential CNG initiative, transport costs are coming down. Are you a car owner or a transporter? Visit www.pci.gov.ng to find out how you can benefit from switching to CNG. This is the renewed hope.
A new edition of TV Guide is out.
This time, we got up close and personal with the transformational legislator, the Deputy President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Barrow Jibrin.
It created a difference in terms of representation through interventions that have brought an unprecedented infrastructural development to my area.
This edition is a compendium of mind-blowing stories for your reading pleasure, ranging from technology, entertainment, economy, media, politics, family, and lots more.
It is indeed a park of excitement as we take you through every aspect of life. Pick up your copy and get abreast with issues and trending features within our space.
TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
You have to move from the point where you protect and defend your religion to a point where you also recognize the rights of the other person, of the other religion, and protect it. So if I am protecting my own territory and my own people and trying to emphasize their rights and protect their rights, I should also be thinking about how to protect the rights of the others.
Both Islam and Christianity recognize and defer to God, and both recognize the temporariness of the life of this world, and that ultimately we all go back to God for the day of reckoning, when everybody will render an account of his life on this temporary abode.
The race to qualify for the biggest football competition in Africa is on, the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. 48 teams in 12 groups, with only the top 2 teams in each group qualifying for the African Cup of Nations in 2025 in Morocco. Don't miss the action, suspense and unrivaled coverage on AfroSport TV and its affiliates partners across Nigeria, starting from September 2024 to November 2024. AfroSport, your freedom of sport.
All right, the papers are here, and so is the reviewer. So let's get you the newspaper review after this time out.
All right, Chukwudi Okoli, good morning to you.
How are you, Nyeri?
Very well,
Good
sir.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Same here.
Victor,
good to see you.
I have similar feelings for you.
Oh, fantastic.
All right, let's see what the papers have this morning. We'll begin with the People's Daily. The People's Daily leads with FOCAC. And the kicker says, Tinubu at FOCAC, collaboration imperative for global prosperity. The writer, as Chinese president pledges $50 billion for Africa. All right. Above that, death toll in Kano building collapse rises to 3, according to NEMA. Nigerians are suffering. Yoruba elders tell Tinubu. All right. In the black strip, just below the picture story, federal government launches digital quality assurance platform for basic education. And some captions below that. NBA condemns recent increase in pump price of fuel. Rivers local government election. Court reserves judgment in APC's suit against INEC. Orders. And updates on the Emefiele. Court fixes September 12 for hearing on fortified assets. Flood. Kaduna government urges residents to obtain building permits before erecting structures. All right, that's the march on the front page of the People's Daily this morning. Let's see the New Telegraph quickly now. The New Telegraph leads with scarcity. Lokwobiri meets Shatima. Ribadu promises availability of fuel this weekend. Another question is, what about prices? And the writer says, government not fixing prices, sector deregulated already. Reverse insensitive price hike now. Reps Caucus tells Tinubu. Transporters stop operation in Kwara. All of that on pages 2, 4, and 29. Above that, Tinubu to global leaders embrace multilateralism, reject protectionism. Harps on need to check root causes of poverty. All right, you want to see that. Interesting. Leave flood-prone areas. NEMA urges Benue, Kogi, Anambra residents and Obasanjo, Oshibajo, Zulum, others pay tributes to Hajia Yaradua. Above that, just above the masthead, we have controversy trails. World Bank's $433 million fund for Nigerian farmers' census. Okay, you want to hear that again. Controversy trails World Bank's $433 million fund for Nigerian farmers' census. By the way, Chukwudi, have you been counted? Let's see what's below the picture story here. Arrest Wike over threats to put fire in states. Clark tells IGP. Self-standard certificates. OPS speaks on degrees from Benin Republic. Others says productivity key for employers. In the green strip, air pollution linked to health risks and deaths, according to a study. And finally, this morning, federal government may exempt exceptionally intelligent children from 18 age WASC NECO limits. Federal government may exempt exceptionally intelligent children from 18 age WASC NECO limits. Extends resumption date for gifted school over renovation. By the way, how do we get to know the exceptionally intelligent? So this is a class thing. Band A, Band B, Bansi?
No.
In terms of
A
intelligence?
reminder, we are not done yet.
Bit,
We're not done yet, and there's no
I'll
time.
argue that there is such a thing as the precocious child, the child of prodigy.
We have the Daily Trust here.
Yes.
And it leads with this story trending. Petrol will be available weekend. That's according to the minister. Price hike shoots up cost of foodstuffs. Beans hits 200,000 naira a bag in Kano and Lagos. Local rice goes for 140,000 naira in Kaduna. And Dangote refinery to determine price October, page 4. And then you have the picture story of food seller. I said traders wait for customers in Abuja and Lagos state yesterday amidst increases in prices of food items. Okay? And terrorists enslaving us to work on their farms. Niger residents, and that story is on page 5. Above, okay, just below the masthead, Naira crashes to 1,639 Naira a dollar at parallel market, and that's a crash. Businesses disrupted as Kwara tricycle riders protest fuel price hike, page 5. Turji must face justice, Northern elders tell FG, page 7. I think we should leave it here for want of time. Chukwudi.
Thank you, Victor. Quickly, on a positive note, let them compete for Africa. Let them compete. I like the participation of China, you know, in the economies of African countries.
And when they compete for Africa, what does Africa do with what they get? $50 billion to Africa. What does Africa do with it?
It's okay. That's another layer of argument. But first of all, let us have a situation where the West would not consider that they can do whatever they like with us, the European Union and all that. That's what I mean by let them compete for Africa.
It makes more sense if Africa takes good advantage
it's
of
okay,
this,
it's okay.
You know, for the benefits of its
we'll
people.
keep on whining about the things, the ways we are shooting ourselves in the foot. It's okay. We all need to join to pool resources to get out of that attitude. It's not only the governments of Africa that are responsible for what's happening to Africa. Individual African people need to change their attitude to their communities, to their government for things to work well. Anyhow, increase in pump prices of fuel. The Vice President summoned Mele Kyari yesterday, as well as Heineken. The other
Summoned?
Well, not so well. He invited them to his office.
Okay.
There's a democracy, so we should watch our words. He called them to his office, and maybe government really did not know about the strange things that happened about the pump prices of petrol. You know, the pump price. Well, prices, because it's not just one price that we saw at the different stations. Maybe government really did not know. You know, part of the problem is that the PIA has not been fully implemented. When the PIA is fully implemented, there will be no such thing as regulation at all.
But are you suggesting, if you say maybe government didn't know, are you suggesting that government is disconnected from reality?
Victor, I know you have a very, very stubborn and robust agenda to get me in trouble. But because I'm the artful dodger, you're not going to get me into any pot of soup at all. Actually, I thought yesterday, how could NNPCL raise prices and government does not know about it? You see, I said you will not put me in trouble. You see where you're taking me? Actually, that disconnect suggested is not palatable. Let us sound like journalists now. It is not palatable. If really government did not know what happened about what happened a few days ago, that does not speak well for accountability, because there's a line of reporting when you do things. Very important. But I think at the end of the day, it's not going to be where it is now, the prices of PMS. I don't think it will be there. It will step down a bit. What I am thinking is that I listened to one young man yesterday, and he was saying that even the Dangote refined products will be sold at international. He said there's nothing like domestic pricing of fuel. Fuel is an international product. The refining process does not come from you getting a few things from Jankara market and all that. It's heavy, expensive equipment and all that. But at the end of the day, we would, as journalists, have to tell Dangote and the rest of them who are refining, you are not paying any landing costs anymore. You are not freighting to go and refine and freighting it back to sell. So there must be a differential. We must not relent in that. It's what we owe the Nigerian people. I think at the end of the day,
If government is not aware that prices of fuel increased, I hope they are aware that the 70,000 naira minimum wage has not taken effect. That's the one that touches me. So maybe we should mention the fact that it hasn't taken effect yet, and we're still waiting for the consequential adjustment and all of that, just so we can be able to buy petrol. At the moment,
you never know who is aware.
You got me pensive, when you mentioned the minimum wage of 70. A bag of rice is now 85,000. Actually 90. So my minimum wage can't buy me a bag of rice.
It hasn't even taken effect yet. We didn't see it in August.
It will take effect. Look, government does not have the kind of cash it needs to do certain things. I'm not in government, but when you have been in managerial positions, you begin to feel where the shoe pinches the other guy. They don't have that cash. They are struggling with internal revenue generation and all that. That is why I say Nigerians should give them some leeway in a transitional period. Then maybe after 1.5 years, we begin to hold them fully accountable.
All right.
Anyway, Nigerians are listening.
Tinubu says he's a reformist. I believe him.
You say 1.5 years. We're almost there.
He took APC and PDP governors, Labour Party governor to the Supreme Court over the money must go to the local government chairman. He started something.
All right.
I like talking real things,
Okay, we're about to go. The producer is asking us to go, but quickly, I'd like to hear your comments about this. Federal government may exempt exceptionally intelligent children from 18-age WASC NECO limit.
And I said you're giving me opportunity to be very glib, if not eloquent, about the precocious child. A precocious child is a child with stupendously developed cognitive abilities ahead of every other person. They are special children. You tap into their brain because they're not like every other person. That's what they're talking about.
So now...
No, there's such a thing as a precocious child.
No, I just want to paint a scenario. So you finish secondary school with, say, 40 other students, and then because 10 are exceptionally brilliant in secondary school, they get to go to university before age 18. Then you, because you're not as exceptional like you're saying, we have to wait till 18 years. Who says that, I cannot be more intelligent when I get into the university? Haven't you seen students who don't do well in primary, secondary, and eventually get to high institution and become very brilliant?
In the army...
Have you not seen people who are brilliant in secondary and get into high institution and they are not?
In the army, it's not everyone that qualifies to be a sniper. It is that hunter's son from Ubulokiti that they choose because he started shooting grass cutters and antelopes well ahead of the time he went into the army. When they find him out in the army, they single him out as the man who's going to be the sniper for the army.
There must be parameters anyway.
Everybody is not the same.
There must be a basis.
There is such a thing as a precocious child. You tap into their cognitive abilities because they are stupendous abilities. Indeed. If you don't do that, you're cheating yourself.
If it's a law, then it should go across board.
Have you not heard about children that solved?
We have to wish Chukwudi
very tedious mathematics problems.
A stupendously wonderful day. Am I right? Have a great day, Chukwudi. We'll begin our conversation after the break.
Did you know that President Bola Tinubu has approved the suspension of import duties and tariffs on rice, maize and other essential food items for the next 5 months? The President has also approved the suspension of import duties on pharmaceutical raw materials and equipment. This will help bring down the prices of food and drugs across the country. All hands are on deck to ensure that things get better for all Nigerians. This is the renewed hope.
NTA Television College Jos, with a pedigree of producing indelible professionals in the media space and an affiliate of the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, for the award of degree in mass communication, calls on prospective candidates to leverage on the following courses it offers for 2024-2025 academic session. BSc Mass Communication, those with minimum admissible score of 180 and above who sat for the 2024 JAMB/UTME and direct entry, while 100 to 179 minimum admissible score can apply for the National Innovation Diploma NID in Film and Television Production, Broadcast Journalism and Television Engineering. For more inquiries, visit our website or call 0803-383-4343. Announcer, Registrar.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
All the way from Lagos State is the Vibes Clan family. And all the way from Ogun State is the Lighters family. Mention something that happens to you when hungry.
I get angry.
Survey says... Ma'am, you are beautiful as your name.
Thank
You say you can mimic anybody.
Well,
Mimic me.
and that's here on the live show.
Mention a place where petty thieves steal easily.
Bosses.
Concerts,
Front of ATMs. Under the bridge.
markets.
You're a songwriter, minister. Write a song on the spot for Cassie's late coming.
Lord, we need a miracle. Cassie is a late comer. Lord, we need a miracle for Cassie. If you do this miracle, we'll say, thank you, Lord.
Nigeria means a lot to me.
And Nigeria means peaceful cohesion.
My country.
We continue to pray, and then hopefully we will come to understand that unity of purpose, unity of living together.
Our ethnic beliefs and background and culture is our strength.
Ever since the amalgamation period of 1914 to date, about 109 years ago, the people of Nigeria live very peacefully with one another.
I think diversity helps a lot to enhance robust development in Nigeria.
All over the country, you have so many ethnic groups, over 250. That is enough to tell you that this is a blessed country, and that God has kept, together as one indivisible entity.
The race to qualify for the biggest football competition in Africa is on, the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. 48 teams in 12 groups, with only the top 2 teams in each group qualifying for the African Cup of Nations in 2025 in Morocco. Don't miss the action, suspense and unrivaled coverage on AfroSport TV and its affiliates partners across Nigeria, starting from September 2024 to November 2024. AfroSport, your freedom of sport.
All right, welcome back. This is Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. And to begin our conversation this morning with Borders and Fostering Leadership Culture, let's quickly see this background report put together by our correspondent, Ibrahim Dan Hamidu.
Nigeria is a nation of vast potential, yet grappling with challenges. But what if the solution lies in fostering a leadership culture that emphasizes collective growth, empowerment, and shared responsibility to nurture a mindset that prioritizes the greater good. Experts say Nigeria needs a shift from individualistic leadership to a collective approach, where leaders mentor and inspire others, and the elite must invest in youth development programs, equipping them with skills and values to drive positive change. Recently, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, engaged young Nigerians participating in the Legislative Mentorship Initiative. He highlighted initiatives supporting youth leadership and encouraged their participation in politics. Initiatives like mentorship schemes, community projects, and leadership training programs are already making a difference. Guests on the show will discuss more on fostering a leadership culture where Nigeria can unlock its full potential, driving progress and prosperity for all in the future.
All right. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Hamidu, for that background report. And now, joining us for today's conversation, which borders on fostering leadership culture, I'd like to introduce Professor Oke Ikechukwu, Executive Director, Development Specs Academy. Prof, a pleasure to welcome you.
My pleasure.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning.
Also joining us here is Dapo Yewale, Chairman, Planning and Advisory Committee, Legislative Mentorship Initiative, and Senior Special Assistant to the President on International Cooperation. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, and still joining us for the conversation, we have with us Shalakwe Shonuga, Director, Legislative Mentorship Initiative, Cohort 3. Many thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. I'm finding it a bit, I'm beginning to think, where do we start from? Do we begin from laying the foundation of what leadership should be, or do we begin from what you are doing so that later we now say, okay, have you done it right? But let me begin with Professor Ikechukwu to lay us a foundation. What, the characteristics, key characteristics of effective leadership can be like or should look like, and how can they be cultivated in Nigerians? It's a special breed, a special setting here. So how?
I'll take two issues. It's not just there's first of all, the leadership situation. In any human situation, you speak of leadership, you're talking about a leader, those he's leading, his vision of leadership, his perception of public good, among other things. Where these are missing, it will be leadership quite all right, but it will be serving self-interest. That's number one. Number two, when does a leader become effective? A leader must, first of all, understand his operating environment. If, for instance, I've been sent to Abuja as leader, and I come into Abuja, I have no understanding of the nature of the people, I have no understanding of the social relations, I have no understanding of their actual needs, but in my mind, I have an idea of what I think is good for them. I will lead a vision that's not connected with the people, and I will achieve success by my own measurement, but it will have no impact on the people. So, effective leadership is understanding your environment, understanding the people, understanding the actual needs of the people, designing a strategy for ensuring that these 3 or 4 facets are brought together in such a way that development takes place. And in speaking of development, you're not talking about infrastructure. You can build a road in my village. If it turns out that in that village only 9 people have bicycles and you built an express road, that's not development. But if you come to my village and the place is full of palm wine tappers or fishermen, and you give them new fishing facilities, help them reclaim polluted waters, you're bringing development because 1, you're reactivating the local economy, 2, you're enabling the people deploy the skills they need to survive, and 3, you're strengthening the bonds of community in the place. And therefore, effective leadership must also be connected with making the right decisions, and then problem solving, not the problem you've created. And so you find that unless that happens, you're going to have people occupying leadership positions, but they will not deliver effective leadership because they are not serving the people, and they are not serving their environment.
All right. Many thanks, Prof, for that background. well laid, Professor Ikechukwu. Let's get to Dakmo Oyewole now. I'm sure you heard Prof talk about what effective leadership should be all about, and then looking at what we see in the country. Of course, Nigerians want more. Leadership, of course, has been mentioned in different quarters, has been the main problem, for Nigeria and many African countries. Tell us about this mentorship program, and tell us what is the drive, really? Do you really think it can change the narrative?
Well, absolutely, and thank you very much again for having us. I think Prof has laid the foundations very well. And in fact, our founder, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, embodies all those values of leadership that he just mentioned. And that is why when he turned 60 2 years ago, and he said, look, what can I do? How can I make sure the future is better than the past? How can I make sure that as I get older, having been someone who's been through every rung of leadership on the legislative leadership ladder, how can I impart the knowledge, the experience, both the good and the bad, to the younger generation in a manner that equips them and gives them the capability to be better leaders? So he did two things on the same day. On his birthday, he launched a book called Mr. Speaker, which sort of articulates his challenges, how he got to become speaker, stories of travails and challenges that many people do not know, because often the assumption is that you just get to the top just like that. Most people don't see the struggle. And he wanted young people and other Nigerians to see this was a struggle and there's a sacrifice and you have to apply yourself if you really do want to lead. But the second thing he said that he wanted to do, and he did it on that day, was to launch the Legislative Mentorship Initiative. And why did he do this? He felt that for many people that come into public sector leadership, there's no actual training program. You win an election, you're appointed, and you're just thrown into the swimming pool of politics and public policy and told, swim away. You know naturally that if you're not trained to swim and you're thrown in a pool, you tend to drown. So that's one of the problems with leadership today, whereby people win elections or get appointments but are not equipped or trained. As I've said in other places, if you want a pilot to fly an aeroplane safely, or you want a doctor to perform surgery safely, you train them, you certify them before they do. But what about our leaders? We have people who are in charge of making decisions about a country of over 200 million people. Why don't we invest in training them? So the Legislative Mentorship Initiative looks across the length and breadth of our country, finds the most exciting, most engaging, and most passionate, capable young people who determined by themselves that they want to lead. And then when we screen them and we select them, we now say, okay, come to the table. 3 weeks of embedded training here in Abuja. We get a faculty. Of course, Professor is one of our alumni, veteran faculty. He has trained the three cohorts so far. And we get about 75 trainers in our faculty, both domestic and international. And we have a rich, robust curriculum that covers every aspect of leadership, whether you're looking at the history of Nigeria, legislative, executive, even to things like how you sit down and cross your leg when you're doing a media interview. We train them in every aspect. And some of the things we make very, very fundamental is the importance of inclusion. You have to include everybody in your society. You have to be responsive in your society. So, for example, we are walking the talk. In the Legislative Mentorship Initiative, there is gender balance. There are 25 women, 25 men. We cover the entire country, and we even have people living with disabilities as part of that cohort. So this is why Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila started this. And, well, we're the third year so far. We've graduated 118. Another 50 will graduate tomorrow, in fact, and we're really looking forward to this. This is a pet project of his. It's something he has funded, it's something he has fueled, it's something he has supported, and this is what leadership is about, creating successors who can do better than you did while you were in office.
Thank you very much, Oyewole, for that background, I would say, into what you're doing. But you've talked about every kind of, virtually every kind of balance. Professional balance, do you have it though?
Well, I think I know where you're going, and perhaps you're trying to talk about, do we have the media covered? We cover even public speaking. And I think the media is a fundamental aspect of democracy. It's a fundamental aspect of nation building. So we do have sessions that actually teach and train our young people how to engage with the public speaking and things of that nature. But now that you've mentioned it, I think this is a great opportunity to invite you to be part of the trainers for the next cohort, so you can come and lead, be part of our faculty, training young people on how to engage in the media.
All right, many thanks, Dakwa Oyewole, for your response to that question. But I'd like to get to Sholakbe Shonuga now. You're the Director, Legislative Mentorship Initiative, Cohort 3. Fantastic listening to Dakwa talk about what all of this is all about. And yes, of course, you want to applaud the initiative. But, you know, some people in some quarters would say that would these 3 weeks really make a difference? Looking at the fact that a lot of people, you know, people you have gathered are currently in different fields, right, where they should be trained in terms of leadership, how they conduct themselves at their place of work, when they were in school and all of that. And all of this should be, you know, learned over time. 3 weeks may be too short for, you know, anyone, you know, to become better at anything. So tell me, how does this 3 weeks really do the magic, considering the fact that at the moment leaders that we've had who have been in leadership position for so many years still just talk and not act?
So thank you for that question. I think that I'll take it from 2 angles. The first is the fact that it's an immersive process. It's an immersive 3 weeks. So that's the first thing. We say sometimes that it's a boot camp where we come, we bring them, it's fully residential, they're living in Abuja, they are, you know, immersed in the process, immersed in the training, and it's not just coming to sit down in the classroom. I think that that's where sometimes, you know, we find it tricky. We bring people together, we sit them in a classroom and that's it. No, we go beyond that. It's now, it goes to, of course, lectures, but then we have mentor exchange sessions, which is where public sector leaders come and they have a conversation. We apply Chatham House rules, which means that everything we say, you know, within the classroom doesn't go outside of the classroom. Beyond that, we have excursions, we have learning visits. We go to places, we interact with people. We even have more relaxed sessions. We have interactive sessions. So the first thing is that it's a fully immersive process that goes beyond classroom training so that they can actually embody, understand. It's more practical, it's more engaging. And we found that those learning methods help people to assimilate information even more. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that these people, we didn't, they're leaders in their own right. So what we're doing is that we're equipping them, we're informing them to be even better. The first thing is that all of them have a demonstrable track record. And so what we're trying to do is that we're trying to give them the tools to succeed in governance, allow them to understand how the system of governance works. Because something that we realized before is that in as much as people are amazing, people are smart, people are brilliant, especially young people, some of them don't know exactly how the machinery of government works. So teaching them how that works alongside the practicality of it, alongside leadership skills, alongside practical skills on how to then take all the things that they've learned and then incorporate it into their daily lives, incorporate it into leadership, politics, public sector, the third sector, whichever sectors that they're working in. That's the first thing. And then on the other side of it, the other hand of it is the alumni community. So we don't train them and leave them, right? Of course, it's lifelong learning. However, the 3 weeks is immersive, it's fully immersive. They learn a lot in the 3 weeks. We've received fantastic feedback from all cohorts, including this one that is graduated tomorrow. But we have a strong, tight-knit alumni community. In fact, we like to call them family. And they call themselves family. I was talking to one of them yesterday, and they said, oh, my brother, my sister, because this tight-knit alumni community then goes on to do even more amazing things, goes on to continue learning. The alumni community, for instance, has a book club where from time to time they interact with authors, they get more knowledge over the years. So basically, the 3 weeks is fully immersive and they do learn quite a lot and they assimilate quite a lot. But afterwards, we don't just leave them. There's an alumni community that continues to grow, continues to help them to network, continues to help them to learn and ensure that everything that they've learned, they're taking it forward and they're also paying it back to their communities on the grassroots level.
Well, thank you, Sholakwe. I'm just wondering, you've talked a lot about not leaving them after they are done. So where are your alumni members these days?
I think the real question is, where are they not?
Okay.
That's the first thing. I think one thing that we always say is that to be a leader, you don't always have to follow the political route. There are various ways where you can show change and show impact that doesn't have to be politically inclined. However, we do have some that are politically inclined. We have some that ran in the last elections, unfortunately lost. And then we have another set that is going to run in 2027 that have already started campaigning. And then if you switch over to the other sector, we have a few in the public sector. So we have some in the National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies. Some are senior legislative aides to federal legislators and state legislators. Some work with as essays to governors. Some are in the office of the speaker. Some are in the National Assembly Library Trust Fund working with the executive secretary. So we try to ensure that we place them. And then if you look at another side of the coin, because a lot of the time we look at the private, we look at politics and we look at the public sector, but there's also the third sector, which is the non-governmental organizations and social impacts, because at the end of the day, everyone has to work hand in hand to ensure that we're seeing progress in the country. So we have some that have gone on to start their own NGOs. Some are making impacts within the international development space and driving community engagement and grassroots engagement. So they're doing quite well.
All right. I was going to, because that becomes important for me, because after all of this, if they are not able to now utilize that which they have learned, it may not serve the purpose for which it was started in the first place. Prof, I would like to ask, well, we know you, but then how much do the mentors take cognizance of the culture, the climate, our own political climate culture, in your mentorship of this set?
I'll start by going back to the question you asked earlier about whether 3 weeks was enough. Mm-hmm. The important thing to note is that the legislative mentorship program is designed primarily to impact the consciousness of young people who are being trained as the replacement generation. What that means is that, and I've been in training of young people for leadership since 2008 across several platforms across all the states, nearly all the states of the Federation. For many of them, the crisis is what they believe. For many of them, it takes programs like this for them to understand that there's a connection between leader and service delivery. Because they've grown up seeing people in privilege. Oh, you have a position, so you're driving SUVs, policemen are following you up and down. They don't know that at the end of every week, there ought to be things you pencil down, what you've done within that week. For many, the first encounter puts that into their consciousness. So if it will take 3 months for them to understand leadership, the program is a failure. They're already adults, they're already living their lives, so I thought I should start from there. At a good deal of the time, there are things you just connect and it hits them. Look, if you're a leader and you're not making any impact, you're just taking care of yourself. Therefore, if you must lead, determine what you need to do. You say, oh, service delivery. He connects it. If you're a leader, you're not paying attention to even your physical appearance. You become a wrong role model for the aesthetic sense of the younger generation. Is that important? Yes, I remember. When I was growing up, I said I want to be dressing like that man or that woman. You draw attention to the fact that as a leader, if you're impudent, no respect for traditional rulers or young people or those working for you, you nurture an etiquette that cannot lead to a civilized society. It hits them. You can achieve all of this in one day. So the content is designed to be experiential. That's number one. Number two, it doesn't follow that everybody who is part of the program will benefit maximally. Number three, a society does not change because all the people who are taught something good did what was good. It could take one person. Look at the history of Southwest Nigeria because of one man called Awolowo. One single individual. He wasn't the only person in school at his time. He wasn't the only. He had peers, thousands of them. And in one instance, like there was one we did for a state, it included values orientation before certain skills. You find one person who now has about 9 people working for him. He only has a school cert. He went through that program. And what enables him sustain and expand is the fact that for everything they are doing, he gets those working for him to see how their interest is factored into it, etc. So coming to the substantive issue on the table, a replacement generation cannot emerge when there's no conscious effort to nurture that generation. What we've been doing is unconscious negative mentoring, because if you look at the reflexes of most people in public office, you have questions about how they won elections, you have questions about how they behave, you have questions about their sudden massive wealth, and people are looking at them and trying to emulate them. And they cannot lead to a better society. The issue you might raise is, okay, these 50 people, are they not too few for Nigeria? My question is, was one Awolowo not already too much for Southwest? Was one Sir Ahmadu Bello not already too much for the North over 50 years ago? Northern Nigeria Development Corporation, a truly insightful leader? Was one Emeagwali Okpara not too much for the Southeast, South, and part of Central Africa? We need people of strength of character, knowledge, who understand that leadership is service. Who will create a GRA like Okpara and not allocate a plot to himself? Who will create a GRA in Kano like Hassan and not allocate to himself, and Pamsek did it to himself? Well, that's what we are trying to recreate. What is critical and important at this point is that this program also cannot be totally at the national and superstructural level, because we have national governments that are totally dysfunctional. Everybody who is suffering about anything now is complaining about the Tinubu government. It's a Tinubu government that we are in. There's an APC government. But the person has a local government chairman, and that month alone, the local government was allocated 170 million. No questions. He has ward chairman. There are council chairmen. These are levels of leadership. The people are so ignorant politically as not to realize that they ought to be querying them. So what is expected, there will also be a drill down of this kind of program, such that at every level, when the led begin to make the right demands, the leaders will be constrained. Because today, even the leaders, like some of those who contested and lost, who were part of this initiative, only 1 or 2 or 3 things could have made them to lose. Cash. Number one. Number two, people's desire for instant gratification and not looking into the future. And number three, lack of the machinery for aborting the electoral process. If you get to a situation where more and more people feel the need to be involved in a rational manner, and that's why I think that once you talk about leadership, recruitment, leadership development, and mentorship, and your mindset is that of a 100 meters dash, get out of the place. Leadership, mentoring, nurturing, it takes time, particularly in a challenged society. So looking at it at this point, it's easy to be demoralized. Why should I bother, man? This country is far gone. Yes, it's far gone. Nigeria is far gone. All it takes is leadership signaling that is there and consistent. It will make a difference. Remember that when Buhari won election in 2015, I don't know if you recall that, for nearly 2 weeks there was uninterrupted power supply. We all became worried. Why we haven't regular electricity? But after that, by the 3rd week, it didn't look like what was shared was there. We reverted. Leadership signaling is one. Leadership recruitment for a replacement generator is another. And that recruitment is where the problem is, because we are recruiting wrongly. The unconscious mentoring of a young generation that's only thinking of consumption. How will I get in and get this privilege? They're not thinking of any productive thing. So initiatives like this will be chipping away at the wrong paradigms progressively. And I think that's why things like this are in order.
All right. If you say things like this are in order, some people may want to think in a different direction, because we're seeing people who were thought to be credible, people who were thought, to be having the right leadership qualities to lead, unfortunately getting into position and delivering something totally different. Maybe not because of their personality, but because of the system, around which they operate. All right, like someone who has to sort a godfather, for example, to get elected, or somebody who has to pay some money to be able to win election, or somebody who has to do vote buying for, even the citizens to think that, oh, you're credible enough to win election and all of that. And then you get into office and maybe you took a loan or whatever, you have to pay back. You have to do all kinds of things. So the system, of course, can make you, not display the leadership qualities that you have that are right. So don't you think that instead of thinking about leadership, like you rightly mentioned, we should be focusing on getting the followers to demand from leadership? That way we may be able to change the setting. Now you're talking about 50 people. You took it right out of my mouth by saying, isn't that too few, and all of that. So just trying to change the narrative with 50 people and then looking at, focusing this mentorship on followers, getting more followers to demand accountability from leaders. Isn't that a better way to change the narrative in this country as it is at the moment?
We have to do both. None can be in isolation. I told you I've been part of this in the past, more than 15 years ago. In one particular state, by the time we were done with the Values Orientation and Rebirth Initiative, a senator lost. Because 4 of the boys who attended the program, who were working for him, brought out the 12 ballot boxes that were already procured for services. He said, this is not what we learned, this is not how to. You see, it has to be both ways. But fundamentally, when you say followership, yes, the initiative to drive the followership to understand is important. The initiative to get leaders to change is important. But the question would be, who is likely to make the greater impact? You have access to people who can influence 3 million people. You have access to people who can influence 10,000 people. Now, reaching those 10,000 people can only be through those who can access them. And I'll give an example. I want to go to Kano, for instance, and preach and talk to the people about, young people about drugs and their parents and their mothers, the negative effects of drugs. And I go there dressed like this. The people actually brought to the stadium and I'm telling them about drugs. And they are listening. But I get to Kano, instead of going to the stadium alone, I go to see the emir. Or I go to a locality and there's a particularly powerful imam or village or district head. And I go to him and I say, Baba, this is the message I have for the young people. We are concerned that your children, because all your children, no matter their age, are doing 1 or 2 things that are bad. I want to tell them to stop it. And I need your support. And the man comes with me and he's sitting beside me in that hall. Even before I open my mouth, I have 70% endorsement. That is why leadership is the more critical element. And there's a live example in the tenure of Peter Obi as governor in Anambra State. Everybody knew Anambra State to be like the Church of Antioch. Every politician had about 9 court injunctions on standby waiting to flash. The state had to be without education for 2 years because of the Godfather thing, because the man who won the elections, by the time he finished sharing the money, there was nothing left. He did it first. By the end of second year, schools were not working, and the Godfathers were having a field day. And there are people who own the state. There are people who will tell you that everybody in the state assembly and those who came from that state to the national were the ones who put them. Peter became governor. He cut all those demands. Everybody thought it would be impossible. Every single thing. He came home the first day, there was so much food, governor's lodge. Next day, he found out they were killing cows every day. He said, why do you kill cow here? He said, oh, Your Excellency, as a governor, when you come by there are people who could come with you, follow you, He said, is this a restaurant? I live here with my wife. So we make us 2 plates of food and an extra in case we want to eat more. That was the end of the killing of cows. That is leadership. And it's not about P2B. Many others have done it. Jack Conde in Lagos lived in his house. Simon Bakwe, what he did in 4 years, many governors, if you give them a 20-year tenure, it cannot happen. Leadership is a more critical factor because in everyday life, parenting is a more critical factor to how 5 people turn out under one roof. Parenting is more critical than preaching to the children. Now, migrate the concept of parent, switch it to leader. Leadership is more critical. History has never changed because people were running up and down. It always took individuals. Even when you speak of democracy, it wasn't because there was a meeting in the marketplace. It was somebody who thought up that, look, this is what would work. We celebrate the Arab Spring, but look at the countries. Oh, the rights of the masses. If there's no leadership, it will turn into chaos. What is Libya like today? What's going on in Sudan? Leadership, that means control of the concept of the welfare of the people, control of the environment, and managing the space and the human beings in such a way that they reinforce the positives and life becomes possible. So as for the number, I'll take the next.
Yeah, Prof. You've spoken well, but I want to find out from Dapo Oyewole, taking a cue from what Prof has said, some of the person listening now will be thinking, why not look at leaders who are already in positions and then get to mentor them so they can change and, of course, become better. That way, if we have leaders in position at the moment doing the right thing, of course, naturally, these younger ones would pick up from them and it would probably, change the whole system. Now, you're picking young people who, you say you're placing them, but may never, get into that position of leadership. And the fact that they still leave this training for 3 weeks, get back to their communities, their environment, and still see leaders at the moment do what they've been doing without any change. So of course the environment would also have an impact. So in the next, say, 3 years, 4 years, they throw away what they've learned from your cohorts, 3 weeks, and begin to take in what the leaders they are seeing are doing. So why not think about leaders already in position and how they can do better instead of picking young, people and then trying to, give them what is required to lead?
Well, there's an old saying that you cannot teach old dogs new tricks. But in this instance, I think we're looking to the future. And, you have a scenario whereby we already have leaders who perhaps are already, shall we say, indoctrinated in a certain kind of leadership. And we are saying that, there are different institutions that are trying to address that. But we want to look back and prepare the ones that will take over from them. You see, succession planning is a fundamental part of leadership as well. So we are saying that, even nature will do its thing at some point, and these leaders will be phased out. When they do go out, what do we have to fill the vacuum? And that is exactly what we're focusing on. And I'd like to go back to a point he made earlier on, the question you asked about 50 people. You see, what we're doing here is, first of all, the kind of people that we choose will never go on and say they're throwing out the 3 weeks learning, because they've already demonstrated the kind of values and the kind of ethics that they had before joining. Now, what we're now doing is we're creating what she called it a family, but it could also be seen as a community of accountability. Because when you grow and trained and you experience the learning about leadership with a cohort of people from across the same country, and you all agree that you have the same values and the ethics, when you start going off track, those are the same people that will call you and say, please, have you forgotten how we started? Have you forgotten the oath that we took? Have you forgotten the path that we said we will follow? Secondly, there's a very popular saying now. They say if you want to walk far, you walk. If you want to walk fast, you walk alone. But if you want to walk far, you walk together. And one of the things, and this is the first time it's ever been done, that we have done at the Legislative Mentorship Initiative, is that last week, Saturday, we brought all the leadership fellowship programs across the country together. So all the different fellowship programs, the graduates, the alumni, came together at Zuma Rock here. I think there were about 120 people, all these young people talking, planning, strategizing, and agreeing. They even came up with a new sort of mantra of how, and ethics of how they will lead when their own turn comes. And I think the question we should be asking ourselves is that, when will their turn come? That is really what will change the tide. And that goes to what he was talking about. Look, we need to also look at citizens demanding the right kind of leaders. If you have a scenario whereby we've trained, we've equipped, we've enabled these young people with the ethics and the values to lead and lead well, and then citizens decide that they want to go for stomach infrastructure, then that will be a problem. So I think, if anything at all, it will train the leaders, but then we also have to ensure that the younger people themselves, the citizens themselves, are demanding that kind of leadership. And then there's also something about, leading by example. And I'll explain. Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila started with us, myself included. I was abroad, and he said, come back to Nigeria, come work for me. He made me special advisor on international and interparliamentary affairs. And one of the first tasks was building this. Ms. Sholakpe Shonuga here was the youngest legislative aide to the Speaker. She was only 23 when he appointed her and gave her that role to be someone who will work with him. And we were both learning from him. I was the first director of the LMI. The second director of LMI, Barrister Chimdi Neliako, she's now currently the special assistant to the current Speaker on interparliamentary affairs, and of course, Madam Sholakpe Shonuga is the third. So even we that are leading the program have actually been through that mentorship process. And not only have we been through the mentorship process, we're also given the opportunity to use what we've learned in the government as well. So the young people are also listening to us and looking at us, and they can see it is possible. And that's what this is all about. It's not even just about teaching. It's not just about training. It's also about inspiring these young people to believe that it is possible. And it's the whole society that is going to have to do this. I know there's an atmosphere of people feeling, shall I say, not so optimistic about the state of the country. But honestly, if you sat in any of the classes with these young people, if you saw any of the videos, and we should mention, in the first week when we opened the application, right, the portal, we get at least 5,000 applications. So to go through the applications, we actually have to hire about 70 people to go through the first level of screening. And then we now have a selection panel that will now go through videos, essays. If you listen to these young people, you will be so optimistic about the future of this country. They are young people they have their heads in the right place, they're applying themselves, they're sacrificing, they're diligent, and they really want to see a better Nigeria. What Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila has done is created a platform that enables them to be able to do that. And it's going to take all of us, including the media, to continue encouraging them, to continue supporting them, and creating an enabling environment that makes it possible that after that they have been trained, they can get that opportunity to lead and to lead right.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I'm just wondering, while you talked, you see, I don't know how much you are building resilience in the people. That sort of toughness that, what they say, if you can't beat them, you join them. You have a lot of people with a different kind of thinking. People who, what they are looking for. If you say you have 5,000, you will be amazed to find out that, well, it's because these individuals don't have what they are doing. They say, okay, let's just key in here. Who knows? We may find a bread may be buttered somewhere along this line. So that may not give you an accurate idea of a people who just wanted to, be tutored to lead and all of it. It is, what do I get out of it? What will the end product be for me? So how do you instill that level of toughness, that resilience that makes them resist all, that even when you get into, let's say you become a member of the House of Representatives and you see a lot of things going wrong, that you can be that lone voice. And even when you have to suffer for it because you are crying, like you are like in the wilderness, crying all alone, what sort of toughness mentally do these guys have?
So, fantastic question. Part of the selection process will show you that these young people, even in the little work they've done in this short period of their lives, already reflects that level of resilience and doggedness to doing the right thing. That is how 50 people get selected out of 5,000. These are the things we look for. Secondly, we do not create a sort of pie in the sky idea of, this is going to be, you're going to be the next Obama, or, or you're going to be Martin Luther King. You can be, but we actually tell them this is how real life works. And that's why our faculty, we don't have just lectures, we have mentoring sessions, like she mentioned, where people who have been through that, on the front lines of the political battlefield, come and show their scars. We tell our trainers, we don't want you to come and tell them just nice things. We want to tell them how you suffered, how you struggled, how you were betrayed, how you got back on your feet, and how you actually succeeded. So we let them know that the journey is not as smooth as you think it may be. But if you have the right values, you have the right commitment, and you're really, really committed and dedicated to leading and leading well, it is possible. And I think if we look around us, we see examples of people who have been able to do that. And he gave an example of people across our geopolitical zones. The challenge we have today is whenever we talk about our heroes, we always talk about our heroes past. What about our heroes now? And what about heroes in future? That is what we're trying to create through the Legislative Mentorship Initiative.
Okay, fantastic. Heroes you're trying to create. I hope these ones in the cohort are not planning to jackpot after this. But let's find out from Sholakbe Shunuga. I'd like you to focus on the women in this program. You've been a part of it from cohort 1 till now. So tell us about the women. I want to know what exactly you're telling the women in this program. Because we see that the number of women in elective positions in the country is reducing by the day. We see all the challenges that women get to face in the bid to take leadership positions. So what are you telling, these girls or these women, that I mean, do you really think that the future is bright for women in this country?
I think that's an interesting question. And I think it's also a very good one, because women's representation is something that I am personally very passionate about. And when designing the program, we tried as much as possible to ensure gender balance. So in the first cohort, we had a 40-60%, 40% women, 60% men. That was out of our control. But in the second cohort, it would interest you to note that we had 60% women and 40% men, because in the selection process, the women were just so exceptional that they had to be 60%. But in this cohort, we now have a balance, 50-50. And the first side of it is, of course, we have gender mainstreaming within our program. We had an inclusion day, for instance, where a key component of that was the importance of women's inclusion, talking about some of the challenges that women face, talking about the practicalities of the challenges that women face, and the importance of overcoming those challenges. We had another session with UN Women recently, where we're also highlighting some of the challenges that women could face in political leadership. We also had another session with the chair of the Committee on Women Affairs, who also spoke about some of these challenges and overcoming them. And I think I would also go to the point of allyship. So it's important to train the women, to build their resilience, to let them know of the various challenges that they may face that might differ to men. But it's also important to instill these things in the men so that they also understand the challenges that some women can face. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the leadership channel and you note that majority are men, we can't have more women on the table without the men buying in. So we've taken it two sides of it. Of course, we're instilling the importance of leadership in the women. We're ensuring that there's resilience. We're ensuring that we're opening up channels and pathways for them to also take forward these skills that they've learned, these leadership qualities that they've had, these characters that have been instilled in them, so that they can then, get into leadership positions. But we're also ensuring that the men within the cohort understand these challenges, so that in their own ways, they are also ensuring that they're leaving no one behind. Something that we always say is leave no one behind. That goes for men, women, persons with disabilities. So as we're building, the leadership skills of all of these people, gender representation is definitely something that we're very passionate about and something that we are taking forward. And I am personally taking that forward. And of course, with the support of everyone in the management and operations team, Mr. Dapo is also a very big he for she. And when we were designing and building, it's something that everyone sat down and said, this is something that we have to ensure that that we prioritize, and it's something that the Right Honourable Speaker, Right Honourable Femi Gbajabiamila, former Speaker, also prioritizes. And I'm sure that as we go forward, because we've already started to see gains a little bit. When you look at the last cohort, we saw that more women were applying. And I wouldn't say this because I'm a woman, but when we look at the applications, there's so many exceptional applications from women, even more than the men. And that just goes to show the quality of women that we have in Nigeria. And I know that as we start to look at heroes to come, like he said, we will definitely see more heroes in the women.
All right, Sholakwe, thank you very much. I'll take my next question away from you because I want a kind of balance. I'll take it to a man. I don't know if it's a he for she or she for he. By the way, women have a way of coining languages that suit women, and I like that. It's my colleague's favorite arena to play. But now that we are here, I don't know, Prof, what you are telling the women, if there is a particular, you have sessions particularly for women. Look, we have a situation today where women will tell you they want free seats, just to allow women to come in. We have a situation where, in spite of all the opportunities, for instance, I belong to the NUJ and I keep saying this, we create NUJ for all, they create NAWAJ for women. And you have this in every sector. This is an advantage. But still, they want free, they've just believed that, no, we can't do it on our own. But let me remind, we've had women. Remember the About Women's riots led by women. Remember the likes of Queen Amina of Zaria. Remember Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, Okonjo-Iweala is there. These are current examples. Dora Queen of blessed memory and the likes of them. These are women who didn't have to say, please give me now. They had to go do it for themselves. So what are you telling the women? Is it not possible to get what men get, compete with men and compete favorably?
Two things. I will talk about women and what they should get, but I want to touch briefly on the question you asked about mentoring current leaders. We must know that many people in leadership positions today did not go there to lead. Did not go there for public good. I want to go to National Assembly. I spent 2.7 billion. And I'm determined to come back with 15 billion. Is you out there that under the illusion that I'm here in connection with you? That's your problem, not mine. So we can't overlook that. But you also can't overlook that many of them there are also for the right reason, for the right purpose. Those are the ones that can benefit from any training. But to expect that there will be a transformational reality, because they go for trainings outside the country, and you have to find out how many of them take part in the training. It's a shopping opportunity. They arrive, they sign in, and you don't see them again until it's time to go back. They collect the extra code. So we shouldn't lay too much emphasis. Whereas it's necessary, it will not be a very strong determining factor. Because like if you're left-handed and you're now 63 years of age, it will be quite a job trying to become right-handed. And you've been nurtured wrongly that this is our chance, this is our chance, this is our chance. You won't understand public service and service delivery. Now the question of the ladies you're asking, okay, for me specifically on some of the sessions I had, you will imagine, for instance, you ask yourself, what's the connection between talking about women and public speaking? Because I took them on, one of this thing was on public speaking. A woman in public office in our environment runs against the tide. You have a male-dominated society, do we agree? And you have communities and even teachings that suggest that the woman is part of the furniture, really. She is not to have very strong views, etc. And so here you are, aspiring for a leadership position. You must make a distinction between the content of your consciousness and the perception of your gender. And in one instance, in fact, I showed them a picture of a Taribo West. Loved by all football lovers, fantastic player. But would you describe him as handsome by any stretch of the imagination? The answer is no. When you have abilities that mark you out, there's nothing anybody can do about it. Justice Amina Augi, who just retired, tall, beautiful, one of the best jurists, retired from the Supreme Court. She didn't retire from the Supreme Court because she's a woman. It's because she demonstrated capacity. And so part of what is done is to get these young ladies to understand that if you think that coming to the public domain to giggle or show fantastic makeup and advertise your physical appearance, you're mistaking your body for your identity. You won't travel too far with it. You'll always be smiling apologetically and expecting favors from men. If you have ability, your beauty will not diminish, but your skill will be noticed. You'll be respected in addition to being admired, and people will give you your space. So coming to the prevailing, rightly prevailing notion, you hear, for instance, from those who think they are pushing women interests about, look, give us some seats, like you're pointing out. Make the entry point lower for the women. Let them collect the forms free. Whereas that may sound interesting, you're walking in as somebody has received a favor. So you're also disadvantaged. Okonjo-Iweala did not become what she is today because she asked for concessions. Obviously, because people listen to her not because she asked for concessions. Yusuf, etc. And all the women, Hajia Sawaba is known for her struggle for women in the north, not because she sought concessions. But the point that has been made, which you must take into account, is that it would appear that the men need more education on this matter than the women, because we have the disadvantage of a society where the man, practically all the local cultures, the man is the man. The woman is part of what belongs to him. But you ask yourself, if a plane is designed to run with 2 engines, what kind of flight will you get when only one engine is working? It will be bumpy. And you find that even in families, a man who doesn't really consult or has no regard for his wife, he'll be making his own successes, and I say his own successes. But the man who has some kind of feminine influence in his life is likely to appear more balanced, a little more sedate, a little more refined. So it's not just about what you're achieving, but what effect you're having. You cannot be a woman no matter how hard you try. And the quality the feminine brings to bear, and that's another thing where the women, like I try to point out to them in this thing I took, some make the mistake of thinking that in order to be assertive, you have to, open your eyes, show the man that don't run me down, because no, grace makes the woman. It's impossible to scream at a woman who is speaking gracefully. You can't. Or to slap a woman who holds her own. You don't need to raise the quality of your voice. Look at all levels of leadership. And the women who have been successful all over the world, it's not because they try to be more masculine. It's because they affirmed their authority alongside their femininity. Womanhood is different from being a girl, being a mother. All over the world. And also, finally, on this matter of womanhood, a good deal of the time we are talking about visibility and representation. And we don't ask ourselves, is it possible, for instance, for me to be in office as president and the person ruling this country is my wife? The answer is yes. Is it possible that as a man going out there, doing all the gra-gra and the rest of it, that my wife is in a position to see what I cannot see and call me and say, you see, that man, be careful about it, about him, etc.? The answer is yes. So women must also ask their strength. Sorry, I have to cite a personal example, which occurred in the 60s. The Civil War was on, Biafra was losing ground, and so the federal forces were advancing into Omai. And my father had a press, which was used to print Eastern Echo, the Biafra, part of the Biafra newspaper thing, a complete publishing house. So some of those working with him, some of them from Port Harcourt, Calabar, said, look, the best thing is to relocate the entire press to Port Harcourt, which was still safe, and that was done. After they had done that in the office, they came to the house. My father brought the entire team for lunch. I was in the room playing with my toy. The next thing, he came in with my mom into the room. Of course, the natural thing is to get up and go away. So I got up to leave. My mom said, no, okay, don't worry. Providential, because the impression never left me. What was it? He said that she was worried. You know, that who was that other man? The fair one, described him. He said, oh, he's the leader of the team. He said, my dear, I'm concerned. I don't think anything you do with that man, anything you do with that man will give you heartache. I don't know why I feel that way, but I thought I should mention it. My father looked up. He said, yes. I don't think you should have signed this agreement, honestly. He said, what do I do? Because right now, I can cancel it actually, but then see how cheap I will. He said, no, it will diminish you. The mistake has already been made. We should just pray that it goes well, but I can tell you, you need to be extra careful. To end this long story, when the Civil War ended, every other person had no problem with the ownership of the machines. That particular man was one who insisted that if he couldn't produce the receipt with which he got it from Germany back then, that the machines didn't belong to him. He was one who got others to take that position. Now, what am I leading up to? Women must also know that leadership is about direction giving, guidance, and a vision. It doesn't always mean being in front.
Prof,
and that means...
Prof, can I hold you on here? Because we are running late for a break.
Yes,
We'll take that break so that you can conclude your thoughts when we return. Please stay with us.
Handles of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipments will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
Imagine a world where your potential isn't limited by your bank account, where your financial dreams can become reality. That world is here with the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation scheme, Credico. Credico is one of President Tinubu's initiatives designed to put the power of consumer credit in the hands of working Nigerians. Here to help you achieve your goals, whether it's providing for your family or expanding your home or business. Visit www.credico.ng today for details. This is the renewed hope.
Meet lovebirds Jayola and Adama Davies. Their dream of living together as man and wife has finally been fulfilled.
The latest couple in town. Hey! Mr. and Mrs. Jaye Davis!
But an invasion by their troublesome families was not a scenario they bargained for. Her mother moves in. His mother shows up with his little niece. Then her younger sister joins the scramble.
You want to stay?
Married life suddenly becomes very complicated even before it started. Follow their story on this channel as they confront every challenge as it comes. Family forever, the story of our lives.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
We must all join hands to work hard so that we build a country for our grandchildren.
My hope is that we develop as a nation where every citizen is given his due right there is transparency, honesty, and integrity.
Put the interests of this country first and foremost. Interests of Nigeria is being one nation, one people.
The need, if I mean, to put things right, things that have gone wrong before, to try and and put right. For this, for the love of country.
The race to qualify for the biggest football competition in Africa is on, the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. 48 teams in 12 groups, with only the top 2 teams in each group qualifying for the African Cup of Nations in 2025 in Morocco. Don't miss the action, suspense and unrivaled coverage on AfroSport TV and its affiliates partners across Nigeria, starting from September 2024 to November 2024. AfroSport, your freedom of sport.
All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA, and our topic is on fostering leadership culture. Our guest is still very much with us, and before we went on that break, Professor Ikechukwu was letting us know how women can take their place, and somehow Victor made sure we went on that break before I asked Professor Ike, about some of his comments. He talked about women can take the back seat and give guidance and direction to the men, but who says a woman must be a wife first before you are able to take up leadership position or, change the narrative? Because from all you said, all the examples you gave, you talked about, being a wife, talking to your husband. I mean, you could be single as a woman, as a girl, and still be able to do what is great and take up leadership position without having to take the back seat. That is what women are advocating for. And I'm sure Shalakwe agrees with me on this part, because even that part of being a wife is also one of the reasons why a lot of women don't take leadership position, because, yes, you have other duties. You need to have kids and all of that, which are all limitations, when you want to, go the path of leadership. Yeah, so could you please clarify?
You recall I referred to Justice Amina Ogi, retired. I didn't talk about wife. I spoke about a woman and capacity. I used the example where there's wife involved. I didn't refer to Obia's wife. I didn't refer to Konjiwala's wife. I spoke of them as women of capacity. Hajia Sawaba, I mentioned her name here. Who is her husband? She made all the impact on this planet and is remembered and admired by a lot of people, not because she was anybody's wife. She focused on women issues. So what I want to take off the table completely is any remote suggestion that being in the background means being somebody's wife, or not being in your position, or suggesting that women should necessarily always be in the background. That's insulting. Okay, go and put Okonjo-Iweala in the background. Who will stand in front? Do you get it? So let's not mix up. I use a wide spectrum of examples. If I'm being understood to be saying the women should be in the background, no, I gave an example of how women were effective from the background. I mentioned women who were effective in leadership positions. The important distinction I want us to note is that the woman in a leadership position need not display masculine qualities or appear to sound tough. You can be all soft and jelly and womanly and maintain your authority, because what is giving you authority is your capacity. Not the form of your body, not the shape of your body. That's the point. And you see, women, in my view, I may be mistaken, have greater capacity for compelling leadership. They have their fellow men, they have their men. It's not very easy for a man to really jump on a woman in a leadership position. So she has this kind of slightly more pervading effect. But you have that effect based on capacity, not announcement of a gender. Oh, I'm a woman, give it to me. No. People give space because you have it. So no, it's not there's no connection, quite frankly, between being a wife and being an effective woman in any position you are.
All right. Prof, thank you very much. I'm sure my colleague is satisfied now.
No, but of course,
she was about to call the police, actually.
No, it sends the message clearer to young women who are watching.
Indeed.
Of course, it makes it clearer to them.
Indeed. Dakpo, let me ask you this. I don't know how much you do and if you think you are doing enough after your cohorts, cohort 1, cohort 2, now cohort 3, in getting the people you have mentored not to go to waste. Getting the people, they have all the advantages, not too young to run, ensure that there is no age limit, there's no barrier at that level, at least you're mature enough, you can find yourself. And we do have, for instance, in the House of Representatives, a lot of young people this time than we've ever had, perhaps. So are you doing enough after your mentorship to harness these people? Working as SAs is okay, but they are not leading, they are supporting. So leadership is what we're talking about.
Absolutely, and it's not even a matter of just doing enough. We're doing our best. But one of the things we always tell our fellows is that, it's a journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I think, just this evening, they will be meeting they'll be having what we call a day with the founder, which is a day where they have a mentoring session with our founder, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. And these are the kind of issues that he will be talking to them about what are the next steps after the fellowship, how can we help you going forward, where are the places in which you want to lead. I remember the last few people that said that they wanted to run for office. He took their names, he said, come talk to me, I will guide, I will advise. He has run for quite a number of elections. The first time when he ran for speakership, he lost. He got back on his feet. These are valid examples that he tries to continue to share. So this evening, we'll be meeting with him for about 3-4 hours, and they're going to have the opportunity to ask all these questions. But now to the issue of what next? One of the things I always say, and I think you're on point in this regard, is that if you take people, football players, you train them on how to score goals, how to, defend and all that. You get them their jerseys and their uniforms, and then there's no match. Obviously, they'll be restless. But you see, it has to be not just the legislative mentorship initiative that is trying to create these spaces. It has to be the whole society. We are just doing the very best we can with the limited resources that Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila pulls together each time. And I think it's important to state this. This initiative is funded and fueled primarily by him, out of his pocket, of his own personal resources. We have some partners who support us a little bit here and there, but the bulk of what it takes to do this for the past 3 years is him. And what we're looking for is now to get to the next level. Now we're going to have 168 fellows graduated. What's the next question? And that's something we're really, really focusing on going forward. But what we love, and I think this is what he was saying about value. You see, value attracts opportunity. And even the fellows that we have now that are working in different places, including foreign affairs, you see that now people are asking, please, can you send us some of your fellows? Because they can see that the quality of how they work, how they think, the ethics, the diligence is different. And that is what will speak for LMI. And this is what will speak for the youth leaders of tomorrow. The values that they inculcate and the kind of ethics through which they work. And now we're looking at, well, now that they graduate, how do we now begin to position them? I think it's going to be a lot easier now, because now people are beginning to recognize the capacity and the fact that this is a different cadre. These are different young people who are really keen to do things and do things right. What we appeal to all of you, including the media, is to help to provide these opportunities. And we said this, if you have an opportunity for a young person to go for an election and you want to support them, support the young person. If you have a job opportunity that you think will give this young person visibility, give the young person visibility. If you find a woman that you think is able to do a job, don't sidestep her because she's a woman. Give her the opportunity. And so it's not just the legislative mentorship initiative. Yes, we all have to follow the example that Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila has set in creating this platform. But now this is where we all come together and join hands with him to take this forward and give these young people the opportunity to lead. And I have no doubt whatsoever that in this country, that we will all, a few years from now, start looking at those top leadership positions, and behind their names, you will find in their CVs, LMI Fellow.
All right, LMI Fellow, beautiful. Listening to you and talking about you fixing them, don't you think that in itself is a problem? It means, they go through this fellowship and then you fix them, you give them a position and all of that. They are not going out to compete and, get positions on their own. Is that teaching them to be tough? Because I'm just assuming.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so if they don't have that opportunity anymore, how would they be able to venture into more, responsibilities or,
The director of the program said it earlier on that, in fact, these young people are they're not waiting to be given handouts. They're not waiting to be given jobs. They are even creating their own NGOs. They're now employing people. Those who haven't had the opportunity to get an appointment are creating appointments for themselves. This is leadership. They are not waiting to be given the opportunity. They are creating those opportunities. They're all there. There are those who actually do compete, go for job applications and earn it. So, for example, we have, I'm sure you know about the Nigeria Technical Aid Corps that sends consultants and advisors out across Africa and the developing world. We have some of our fellows as part of that. They competed with everybody else, and it is not our fault that when our fellows compete that they come out on top. That shows that the training they're getting from people like Professor Okechukwu and the wonderful faculty that they have, and the mentorship by Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila is beginning to show the impact. So if they're coming to the top and you're seeing them, I think that's a very good thing. But quite importantly, they are not waiting. You need to spend time with these young people. They're a new breed. They are not waiting to be given the opportunity. They are taking and creating the opportunity themselves. And that's what leadership is about.
Talking about this initiative, what's the plan long term? If Femi Gbajabiamila, you say he's solely responsible for this, if he leaves government tomorrow, is this going to end? What's the future like for LMI?
I think we can already see what he has in mind. He created this when he was speaker. He is no longer speaker. And we've had 2 cohorts even after he has stopped being the speaker. Also, what we've done is that to make sure that we institutionalize it, to make sure that it's not a personalized cult, so to speak, because that's what some people want to do. They want to use it as a sort of legacy project to show how great they are. He did not do that. He said, look, we need to institutionalize this. So right now, the Legislative Mentorship Initiative is actually embedded in the National Institute for Democratic and Legislative Studies. So whether he is there, whether he is not, we now have an institution that can help to become a home for the LMI. But so far, so good. He still remains the main person funding, fueling, supporting, and encouraging all of us in the leadership to do the right thing, create this opportunity for young people. And if he's not there anymore, we just have a great example to follow, which he has already set.
And that funding is what is critical to driving all of this, because it's a different thing to have an institution. It's another thing. Does the institution have what it takes to finance it? I guess that's something you have to think about. But let me get to Sholape again. What are the peculiarities of this 3rd cohort? Because it makes sense that if you do something today, you do it tomorrow, that you keep improving. So what's new in the 3rd cohort that hasn't been there in the 1st and 2nd that intends to make it even better?
So the 3rd cohort, I must say first of all that the 1st and the 2nd cohort were amazing. An amazing pool of people, an amazing pool of faculty, and I may be biased, but amazing directors as well, that I have been able to succeed. And something that we always say is that the successor always has to be better. The 1st cohort was amazing. The 2nd cohort was better. The 3rd cohort, now, these are reports that I've received. I'm not tooting any horns or anything like that, but we have received feedback that the 3rd cohort is even better. And it's not just, the faculty. We have, different faculty members. We've incorporated various new subjects, various areas for learning visits. But the quality of the fellows in training is quite phenomenal. We have even brighter younger, more enthusiastic, more keen, more brilliant young people within the cohort. And I think that that's one of the things that sets this cohort apart from the rest. Now, the other people, the other fellows are amazing. They're all fantastic and phenomenal. But this particular breed, the feedback we've received, the quality of questions that they've asked, the quality of contributions, the case studies that they've presented, some of the work that they are doing, some of the ideas that they've shared, some of the things that you would see in the next few months that they would do as alumni community, as a third cohort, and also with the main alumni community. I think what you need to do is just to keep your eyes on the Legislative Mentorship Initiative, because what they're going to do is going to blow your mind.
What's the average age of what you have in this cohort?
Our average, so the range is 21 to 35.
Yeah.
I would say that the median age is about late 20s. Late 20s.
All right, we're about to go. So because of time, we'd like Professor Oke Ikechukwu, to speak to Nigerians, and also the leaders, about all of this. You're mentoring young people. You've interacted with them. You know what their mindset is, what they expect, what they want to see, and all of that. So from that experience, I'd like you to share with Nigerians.
I'll start on a slightly lighter note, because your passion for women affairs. I have several daughters, and that I see is competence. That's what makes me notice them, not their form. And so, and I've also been in situations where I realized that the feminine balances and leads to greater effectiveness. Where you have only the masculine, you will see the wall is painted, but you see rough corners. I thought I should throw that in. The other thing is the point about placing them and not allowing them to compete. Morton Blackwell was Reagan's chief of staff. After serving in the Reagan government, he came to one conclusion, that the American state is being taken over by people who do not understand the original ideology of the U.S., its founding philosophy, and he set up the Leadership Institute in Arlington. I went for the program, of the 10-day program, I think, 2012. The business of LI is to train young Americans on the old conservative American philosophy and ideology and place them in critical institutions of state. That's how you save a nation. There's nothing like democracy when you're looking for competence, when there's a crisis, when you have surgery, you need to be operated upon, and you say, okay, let's vote. I like his cap more than Professor Ikechukwu cap. Let him go and perform the surgery. He's a professor of political science. So these are the points that need to be made, so that when we are talking about leadership, we don't bring in, with all due respect, the plebeian assumption. You find that, it's about giving everybody should not have equal opportunity where competence is needed. It's a fact of life. I can't come now and take over your job. You say, no, we need representation. You should give everybody, I will come and run your program. I don't understand the structure, your timing, your schedule, etc. So leading it all around. Part of public national consciousness must be the fact that the whole point of being in a position, believing in something, is to make sure that that thing you believe in does not die. If you give somebody who can demolish it equal opportunity to somebody who can protect it, you've damaged your vision, you've damaged the mission. So, lastly, my address to young Nigerians.
30 seconds, please.
Yes. Let them look around. Most of those, the more wealthier you are today, the more danger you invite for kidnap and all sorts of things. Let them develop themselves. Seek knowledge, develop capacity, look for lasting means of livelihood, and above all, make sure whatever you do at any time impacts your environment and the life of people around you.
Fantastic. A great way to end the conversation. Many thanks, Professor Oke Ikechukwu, Executive Director, Development Specs Academy. It was great listening to you. Of course, Dakpo Oyewole, Chairman, Planning and Advisory Committee, Legislative Mentorship Initiative, and Senior Special Assistant to the President on International Cooperation. It was great having you in the studio again.
Thank you.
All right, and of course, Shalakwe Shunuga, Director, Legislative Mentorship Initiative, LMI, Cohort 3. Of course, looking forward to hearing the success stories from the members of this cohort. It was great having you on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that's Good Morning Nigeria this Friday. Thank you so much for watching. Remain tuned to the NTA. I'm Mianwe John. Have a great weekend.
And I'm Victor, so have a great day and enjoy your weekend.